What does Jalen Ramsey's absence mean for DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel? What Cardinal will step up in the absence of Christian Kirk? And we hold the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour's first ever game night. Plus, the leader in the 2019 Footballguys Players Championship, Jeff Volpe, will join us to talk about how he made early quarterback and early tight end work, what he thinks of the Stephon Diggs situation, and obviously much, much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
With the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the truck driver, tapper.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of the Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, as always, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, Dave the Dizzle Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, is T.Y. Hilton worth the wait for Sunday Night Football in your lineups with his banged-up quad? We have several games for the Dizzle to be playing in at the bottom of the hour in the HSFFOR game night. And Jeff Volpe, the leading team in the 2019 Footballguys Players Championship for the last 2 weeks, is going to talk about managing that squad, how he got there all the way up to the top, as well as his draft to get him there. Going to be some good stuff there. Shout out to the chat room right now. You can post any questions you might have in there. Twitter is at HSFFOR, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak. You can go on Facebook.com/HSFFOR, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You want to hop on the blower and give us a call. highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com is the email address. If you have any questions for us, get them in now. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails, and the fantasy feedback segment coming on later in the show. Our producer and mutual friend Rob is pushing all the buttons tonight, and of course, our audio engineer and best friend Rice is normally here. He's actually out of town, I believe, grooving in Memphis, walking in Memphis, as Mark Cohn would say, Dave.
Nashville.
Nashville? I thought he was in Memphis. He's in Nashville?
I thought it was Nashville.
Okay, could be Nashville.
Maybe I didn't listen though.
That somewhere in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. So sounds good on that. Good stuff, and Rob doing double time tonight. Dave, welcome in. It's what are we heading into week 5 here? We passed the quarter pole of the NFL season. We are coming up. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're coming up on the halfway point of the of the FFPC regular season, which is just crazy to think about. And I know everybody's looking for an angle. They're looking for the best possible advice. You're going to get it tonight. But if tonight is not enough, make sure that you're downloading the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown this week with yours truly, and of course, Matt Keifling. Matt Keifling, a guy who's been very successful in the KFFSC. He's won multiple leagues in the FFPC main event as well as the Footballguys Players Championship. Currently has an undefeated team in the FFPC main event that's in the top 70 overall. We got to a lot of stuff this week, and if you're looking for a hot Juju Smith-Schuster take, that is the podcast for you this week. We got into a lot of stuff, including Juju Smith-Schuster and the Steelers offense. Got into some Bengal stuff as well from Matt Keifling. So download that, rotoviz.com/podcast. You can go to Apple Podcasts and download it there. It's always on the Blue Wire Podcast Network as well. Dave, how are we doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you, man?
I am good. I am psyched for this week. I looked at my Kentucky teams. You know, I don't know if you do this or not, but I really don't check the standings in Kentucky because I want to manage my teams, as if they are my best team no matter what. And I'll start looking at the standings as we get closer to the end of the regular season. But I got a lot of good teams this year. There's some not so hot ones. I went 0 RB in a lot of my leagues this year, and I need more running backs to get hurt because I have a lot of great handcuffs that are just waiting in the wings. But I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right in a lot of my leagues.
Good for you.
Yeah,
that's great.
How are things going for you this year?
My dynasties are all doing great. I didn't draft Cooper Kupp hardly at all otherwise, and I own him in half my dynasty leagues, 4 to 8, and so that's great. The rest of the teams are fine. Kentucky not so good, so whatever. I mean,
it is what it is.
I should say, when I say not so good, I mean we're in 3 big paybacks, and I think we're in 5th, 7th, and 9th, but we're like 20 points out of 5th.
And 6 teams make the playoffs.
Half the teams make the playoffs, and they're not terrible teams. They're fine actually.
Right.
So we're okay. My main event teams are pretty garbagey though.
Yeah, mine are not. I need more running backs to get hurt. That's my thing. My receivers are on hit. My tight ends are great. My quarterbacks, I have a Lamar Jackson on a lot of leagues. It's just those running backs, man. I need to hit on them, and I'm not so far.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It is. It is what it is. It's not what it's not. It's a long season. We'll get to all it. I want to thank Football Guys, Real World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Let's get into this Stephon Diggs nonsense. The Vikings Twitter account tweeted out today that Mike Zimmer said, "I don't know, we'll see," when he was asked if Stephon Diggs will play on Sunday. Diggs was not listed on the injury report. He obviously is healthy, but there is the possibility that his head coach might want to bench him to send a message. It is a mouth-watering matchup, as Roto-World would say, for the Vikings as they take on the Giants secondary, which I believe is second worst in the league right now. We'll see what happens with that. Certainly the Vikings could do what they have been doing all season with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison and run the ball, Dave. But Stephon Diggs, I'm going to ask you a question, yes or no. Does he play on Sunday?
If this is pure speculation, I would say he does play. Maybe he sits out the first quarter or whatever, something like that.
Fair enough.
But that's just, again, it's pure speculation. He could play the whole game, and he could get a lot of catches for all we know.
Can we do a quick would you rather with you? Given some options that FFPC players might be making.
Oh, sure. Would I rather have anyone in the world
be
the offensive coordinator rather than Kevin Stefanski? Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
The Vikings are. Let me just do my little quick rant.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's terrible that a player has to do things like this when it's clear that the OC is a complete idiot. Doesn't know what he's doing. He's calling plays very poorly. Get rid of the guy. How hard? Why don't you fire a guy midseason?
Can I counter this?
Sure, I don't care.
Are you sure that it is the play calling and not the poor play of Kirk Cousins?
Well, that's fine. I get that Cousins is not playing great, but he's not really having many opportunities. The Seahawks are another team. Russell Wilson throws the ball 23 times. If he had the volume anywhere near Mahomes, I mean, he'd be like a Hall of Famer. And I know it's from a fantasy perspective, but if you're talking, I just don't see how you limit a player that's that good. Why do you have him throw 23 times when he's that good of a player?
I'm with you on that. I think that's something that fantasy Twitter is going off on that, no question. All right, let's get to try to help some people out here. Stephon Diggs at the Giants, Dave, or Josh Gordon at Washington?
I'd start Gordon.
I would, I would as well. Okay, here's one for you. This will be fun. Diggs at the Giants or Alshon Jeffrey at home against the Jets?
Jeffrey. I don't have
Okay, let me go a little bit lower then. All right. Let's go Calvin Ridley at the Texans or Diggs.
I think Ridley could have a fine game. I still trust in Diggs has had a lot of bad. He's been just as bad as Ridley, so why not take Ridley without the contract?
Okay, all right.
Or the disgruntled issue.
Here's another one of your whipping boys. Will Fuller at home against the Falcons or Diggs?
If they say Diggs is playing, if I don't hear any really bad reports, I would then play Diggs.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going to get the same answer on this one. But remember, Devontae Adams has officially been ruled out for the Packers against the Cowboys. So would you go Diggs or Marquez Valdez-Scantling at Dallas as potentially the number one option for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, even though Dallas has a good defense, I'd take MVS. I feel pretty good about him this week.
Okay, and let me wrap this up with one more. No, I'm not going to do it. That we're going to put a lid on that because we got too much other wide receiver stuff coming up later in the show. So hopefully that helps out the Diggs owners to a certain degree. Hit me up at Eric Balkman if you have further Diggs questions on Sunday morning. Jalen Ramsey has been ruled out for Week 5 according to Mark Long on Twitter. Ramsey's actually going to be meeting with a back specialist, Dave, this weekend. Now, this is interesting for fantasy purposes because DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel will not be defended by Jalen Ramsey. Trey Herndon is actually going to get the start in place of Ramsey. Now, Herndon, if you remember, was completely destroyed by Denver last week. This is a 2018 undrafted free agent who allowed 6 of 9 targets into his coverage to be caught for nearly 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Curtis Samuel is one of 7 receivers this year with at least 200 more air yards than receiving yards. So you look at this matchup now, Dave, Carolina taking on Jacksonville. If you're on the fence, maybe you weren't on the fence with DJ Moore. I mean, he's probably going to be starting for most people this weekend unless you're loaded at receiver. But if you're on the fence with Curtis Samuel, I think you got to get him in there now.
I think that you could do that, but I don't know that you have to. Ramsey not being there definitely helps. But, the over-under is only 40. It's Carolina -3 and 40. Kyle Allen, he had 34 attempts, 24 completions last week, only 6.82 yards per attempt. And McCaffrey is getting so many targets. He's getting such a high volume percentage of this offense, and you still have Olsen to deal with too. So I like Samuel, and he could totally go off this week. It's possible.
Right.
I just say that it's probably not going to be a high scoring game. It might not be a high volume passing attack. Allen only threw the ball 26 times in his first start, so I'd be a little bit concerned there. I don't think Samuel gets more than 6 or 7 targets at most.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Well, if he's only going to throw it like 30 times, 34 times. If you remember, DJ Moore, when he had a touchdown from Allen, but that was his only
That
target.
was his only catch, yeah.
His only
target, yeah.
It was 1 for 52 and a touchdown. So, there's a chance of getting shut out like Nelson Aguilar did the week before, or last week. So, I'd be a little nervous about Samuel.
Curtis Samuel or DeMarcus Robinson at home on Sunday night against the Colts, assuming Tyreek Hill misses, which I think has been official now. Tyreek Hill is
out
not playing.
officially?
Yeah.
I got to start Robinson.
You would go Robinson.
It's Mahomes.
By the way,
it's Mahomes versus Allen.
It is Mahomes. You probably haven't looked at this. You want to take one guess at what the total is on Sunday night between the Colts and Chiefs?
Isn't it like 54?
56.5.
All right, yeah.
It's
and
super high.
They're laying like 11 or something like that, right? Or 11 or 12.
Yeah, it's right around there. Who are we just talking about now? Samuel.
Marcus Robinson.
No, Curtis Samuel or DJ Chark at the Carolina Panthers.
I don't trust Chark either, so I'll go Samuel.
Then you would go Samuel. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do one more here. I think I know what you're going to say, but
I don't, Chark with Minshew and
Minshew's questionable too. Although I think he's going to give it a go.
Yeah.
Samuel or making his return against the Minnesota Vikings this week, Golden Tate for the New York Giants. Which one would you rather start?
I got Tate going in a couple of spots, but I would start Samuel.
I was
desperation.
so annoyed that I have to start Golden Tate in the league. I'm like, I hate starting him first game back. Yeah, it's so annoying. But
he's a pro.
He is a pro. That's sort of how I've rationalized it with myself as well. All right, speaking of receivers, T.Y. Hilton did indeed practice again today. Zach Kiefer, the Colts.
Limited or?
I believe he was limited, yes.
Okay.
Zach Kiefer from The Athletic, he is the Colts beat reporter there, believes that Hilton will, in fact, take the field against the Chiefs on Sunday night. It seems that he is doing much better than he was prior to Week 4. And you remember that Chiefs secondary, they have given up 4 for 146 and a touchdown to DJ Chark. They've given up 5 for 67 and 2 touchdowns to Kenny Golladay.
None of that matters.
Well, I think it does matter.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't play.
Well, I think he's going to play. That's my point.
He's going to play. No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring this up, Dave, is because it is a Sunday night game. So certain people may not have the luxury of starting Deion Kane Paris Campbell's already been ruled out, so not him. But Deion Kane or DeMarcus Robinson or McCole Hardman.
Paris Campbell. I swear we had a bet about that.
We did have a bet, and you know what's funny about this?
Yeah, what's funny is we won.
We did win. Did you look at the targets for Paris Campbell?
What do you have, 7 or 8?
Yeah, he had ample opportunity to go ahead and lose us that bet.
He failed.
He failed. Now, he did get hurt for what it's worth, too.
Whatever.
All right. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying,
it was our first bet against the listeners. We have to taunt.
Yeah, we will taunt. So my point is, if you have T.Y. Hilton and you don't have Hardman, you don't have DeMarcus Robinson, you don't have Dante Pettis, Deebo Samuel, or anybody going on Monday night, you may have to make a tough decision. And for me right now, Dave, a total of 56.5, given the upside of Hilton, it's going to be very difficult for me to sit him, even though I know it is a risk on Sunday night.
That's funny. I feel exactly the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
given the fact that T.Y. Hilton could go for 6 for 190 and 2 touchdowns.
Okay, he was limited, though, and he's coming. It's a quad injury. So, first of all, he could play. There's a number of possibilities. He could play and go off. He could play and have an average game. He could play and have a bad game. He could play and get hurt during the game, or he could miss the game. To me, the odds of the scenarios where he does really, really well it's pretty risky. It's a risky start for me. I don't like risking zeros. So if I don't have a Sunday night or Monday option, unless I hear, sometimes you hear like Schefter or one of those guys on Sunday morning will be like, oh, T.Y. Hilton, really sounds good to go. If they're getting news on Sunday morning, the confirmation, I would feel differently. But if we don't get anything else until then, he's out for me.
T.Y. Hilton, by the way, talking about this, Frank Reich said he was looking good, trending in the right direction. And for what it's worth, the Colts have a Week 6 bye, Dave. So if they decide to hold Hilton out this week, they would obviously give him a rest next week too. I'm still rolling with him. I have him in one league, and he's starting for me.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, one more.
Over under on T.Y. Hilton. Should we do a would you rather?
Well, I feel like, but
10 points.
No, here's the thing, because I think it's going to come down to whether he goes or not. Because if he goes, I think you and I are of the mind that he is going to put up good numbers. If he doesn't go, he's going to get a 0. So I don't think there's anything there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
All right, so we're going to get to Jeff Volpe here in 1 second. I want to bring up one more thing, Dave, that we saw last night. Gerald Everett, 7 catches on 11 targets for 136 yards in the Rams' loss to Seattle last night. Now,
great.
The receptions and yards were career highs for Everett, who is his 3rd year in the league. He drew 8 more targets than Tyler Higbee, the other tight end, on the Rams. He was actually, and in my opinion, I saw this, I think he did score a 33-yard touchdown in the 3rd quarter. They called him down at the 1, and then Gurley got the layup touchdown. He also got a 22-yard catch, a 30-yard catch. In the last 2 games, Dave, 12 catches for 180 yards and 1 touchdown. Dave, he is looking really, really good right now, and I know some people would say he makes a good backup tight end, but in a tight end premium league, we're always looking for that edge, trying to win $250K in the Football Guys Players Championship, trying to win $500,000 in the FFPC main event. I think you got to start looking at this guy as a flex.
Yeah, I totally agree, actually. He got picked up in a lot of leagues, and he looks fantastic. What's so irritating, though, is that, now Cooks won the concussion protocol, but, Cooks did. You had all those Rams receivers that we were all like, oh, one of those guys is going to bust. You have Kupp, you have Cooks, you have Woods, and now you have to deal with Everett, too, 4 receivers?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty nuts.
And Goff is just wrecking it right now.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to see a guy as talented as Brandon Cooks as the 4th option in that offense right now. Well, third or 4th.
Yeah.
And he's still putting up startable numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Goff could have had a huge game. He only, I think 1 touchdown. He had like 23 points, but he's going to have some killer games coming up.
Week 4, he had 500-plus yards.
There you go.
So
or behind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Wasp Guy actually chiming in the chat room says that he actually picked Everett up cheaply the week before in a lot of Football Guys leagues. So good luck on that, Wasp Guy. Congratulations on picking him up. Let's bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He has been playing fantasy football for the last 18 years. And been playing in leagues with friends, also playing in some mid-stakes and high-stakes leagues over the last 11-plus years, including the FFPC and Football Guys Players Championship. Does not play at DFS, only plays in season-long leagues.
Smart.
He's won many of his leagues. That's hilarious.
DFS is for fools.
He's all right. He's won many of his leagues over the last few years, but this year is so far his best year that he has done in the Football Guys Tournament, which obviously is exciting. He leads the 2019 Football Guys Players Championship heading into Week 5. Yes, he is the lead. We
finally got a leader in here, Balky?
He was the Week 4 leader.
Thank goodness.
He is the Week 5 leader, and his name is Jeff Volpe. Jeff, welcome into the show, man. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
You're
great.
coming through loud and clear. I believe we were talking to a fellow Midwesterner. Is that correct, Jeff?
That is correct. If Eric, I know you do a lot of the drafts on FFPC, and I believe if I recognize that area code, you're Wisconsin or Minnesota.
We are Wisconsin. We are northeast Wisconsin. I always like to say we are about 2 Aaron Rodgers throws southwest of Lambeau Field here.
Well, I'm just south of Minneapolis, but in my job, I'm over your way quite often.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. I know you're leading the Football Guys Players Championship, which is obviously very exciting. Tell us a little bit about that job.
Yeah, currently I'm in sales. I've been in sales pretty much my entire career. But I currently work as a manager for a medical diagnostics company. It's actually based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and I cover a little bit of real estate. I cover North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and northern Wisconsin. So I've got a sales team in place, and so I'm all over the place at any given time.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I like someone who's in marketing and sales. You know, get these lawyers on here, Jeff, and
we haven't had a lawyer on in a while.
They can't talk. So at least you know how to talk, so this is great.
Well, hold on. But before we get into this, so now Jeff is in it. You could qualify this as the medical field. Dave, do you want to ask him any questions about any upcoming surgeries
yeah, I have
you
a
might be
surgery
having?
coming up, Jeff. Any advice?
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah, well, it's coming for us at some point. A guy who's not having surgery, Dave, anytime soon, hopefully, is Deontay Johnson.
21-year-old or whatever he is, Deontay Johnson. You got him off the waiver wire last week. I'm guessing you didn't start him last week, but he had a really nice game. What are the chances, do you think, that he finishes as a top 35 receiver the rest of the way?
I think there's a good chance he could. Even though I live up here near Minneapolis, I grew up down south, so I'm a Big 12 fan and continue watching the Big 12. So I've kept up with Mason Rudolph, and I think he's only going to get better as the weeks go on. And between that and the fact that the Steelers look like they're definitely making a commitment to youth. Schweitzer and Moncrief haven't gotten a lot of snaps here these last couple of weeks, and so there's no real threat, it looks like, to his targets or potential there. And let's be honest, Juju looks like he's struggling with number one cornerback coverage. So I think he could easily finish in the top 35 based on how he's been trending.
One of the things that Dave and I have talked about for really years on this show, especially when we cover the Pros versus Joes competitions in late July, is it's very difficult. Not saying it's impossible, but it's very difficult to go early quarterback and early tight end and have a successful team. But you're really bucking the trend thus far here on this, Jeff, because you lose. Here's the thing. You get Patrick Mahomes early. You get Hunter Henry early. You lose Hunter Henry to injury. So you're already behind the eight ball on that. But I got to ask you, how is this team going quarterback and tight end early? How is it not only staying afloat but ahead of 8,399 other teams in this contest? How did you build these running backs and receivers up?
Well, I would say in most years I agree and abide by that philosophy. So let me start by saying that. However, going into this year, doing my research, I felt Patrick Mahomes had the largest point per game advantage over the rest of the field than any other position, and that's something I really try to look at. How many points can that top guy that you potentially draft get you over everyone else in the position? I felt like he was in great shape to do that this year, and so far looks to be on pace and target to do that. So, of course, I think part of my strategy was before I attempted to do that or went with one of my, I'll call them mid-tier tight ends. I did not want to invest anything in Ertz or Kelsey or any of those the top 2 or 3 there. I didn't feel like that was worth the value for where you'd have to draft them. But it was all contingent on getting a good couple of running backs and receivers with my first few picks. And I had Christian McCaffrey as my number one person on the board. I know that's contrary to how most people had it going into this year, but I really felt like the Panthers were going to just lean on him even heavier. And it's we'll see if it holds up and if he can hold up. But so far that's the case, and I was able to get T.Y. Hilton and Mike Evans, 2 solid number one receivers. So by the time it came time for me to be able to make that decision whether I wanted to go Holmes in the 4th round or then, go for Evan Ingram or a Hunter Henry or a Vance McDonald, those are the 3 guys I was targeting kind of in those middle rounds. I felt pretty good about it with this team at that point. So a lot of it was just contingent on how things rolled out. As you guys know, you go in with a plan, but quickly that all changes and you got to adjust and adapt.
Yeah, I think the best players in the FFPC main event, the Football Guys Players Championship, are the trait that they share in common is the fact that they can fly by the seat of their pants and adjust to the construction of their team on the fly. I think that's so important to do and to follow a philosophy, but will be willing to change it and execute it properly throughout the entire draft. That's so tough to do, and if you can do it, you're definitely going to be ahead of the curve, no question. You brought up Christian McCaffrey. We know Cam Newton is out right now, probably going to be out for the foreseeable future. In fact, there's a non-zero chance he misses the rest of the season. We've seen what Kyle Allen can do in his stead. I'm curious, what do you think McCaffrey does? I mean, how much does his value change? How much does his expected output change with Kyle Allen in there over Cam Newton? Is it not affected? Affected a little bit? Affected a lot? How do you view McCaffrey going forward here now, Jeff?
Good question. I think that the biggest question I have with McCaffrey is if he can just continue to handle the workload over the rest of the season. I don't think it's going to change much. In fact, I think these first 3-4 games, as Kyle Allen gets settled into things and gets feeling a little bit better under his belt, I think McCaffrey's going to I think his role could actually increase these weeks. And we saw that with his ridiculous share of the offense this past week. I think Allen will be all right in the long run. People forget he beat out Kyler Murray down at Texas A&M, so he's no slouch quarterback, and so I think they're going to be all right. But I think they're going to continue to lean on him pretty heavily, and I think it's just a matter of whether he can hold up or not. I wish I knew the answer to that question. To win these things, you need a little bit of luck and stay away from the injury bug. But hopefully he can do it.
Jeff Volpe, the leader in the Footballguys Players Championship, Dave, joining us tonight on the show. Let's talk about one of your favorite offenses here.
Sounds good. Christian Kirk's dinged up. Keyshawn Johnson's not doing too well. Kyler Murray could use another option. And Andy Isabella's the guy I always root for, but somehow they, I don't know, I think he must have had sex with Cliff Kingsbury's daughter. Oh, wait, he's single.
Cliff Kingsbury's daughter is probably like 6 years old right now. We shouldn't be talking about that.
I think he's single too, actually. So
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anyway, so what do you think about Damiere Byrd? Do you think what do you think he's capable of? You just picked him up off waivers, so give us your feedback on him.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Cliff Kingsbury, he's a player, man. I don't see that guy settling down any soon and having a daughter. But
that's true.
Outside of that, I think Damiere Byrd's an interesting potential. This offense, again, being a Big 12 fan, I know that this offense can support 4 wide receivers. It'll have that volume in terms of the number of throws and plays. I think this offense will continue to evolve and get better over time. And so I think, Byrd, if you look at the first couple, he's hurt right now, but he'll probably come back. He's probably not going to play this week, but looking to come back, I think the following week, week 6, if looking at the reports is correct. And I think, he's going to be a guy that's going to get, 6, 7, maybe even more targets a week. And so, I don't think I view him as a high upside guy. But if Kirk continues to be banged up and, Keyshawn Johnson can't do much when he comes in there, there's only so much that you can do. Larry Fitzgerald, he is superhuman, 36 years old, but they're going to have somebody else step up. And I think he's as capable of doing it as anybody based on he had a great preseason, which is one of the reasons I kept him on some of my watch lists.
David, we're fortunate. I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but we have the president of the Andy Isabella fan club here co-hosting this show every single week. And I was going to actually ask you this off air, and I forgot to.
You're asking me now?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
All right.
I'm asking you on air. Christian Kirk is not playing this week, so you have Byrd, you have Johnson, you have Fitz. Isabella is going to be playing on the outside, according to the reports we've seen from Arizona. Are you tempted at all to get him in as a flex in a redraft lineup this week?
Am I?
Are you?
Well, I'll tell you something, Balky. I am not, at this point, tempted to get him in. However, I just did tweet.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, at Cliff Kingsbury, hashtag free Isabella. So if he responds to my tweet in an affirmative fashion, I will start Isabella in some leagues.
Did you ask him about his phantom daughter at all, or no?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the right move. Yeah. Probably the right move on that. Okay, so that's Hey, here's the thing. I own Isabella in I think 2 leagues, both dynasty. I'm obviously not starting him this week.
Is he available?
He's not available
for trade.
Oh yeah, he's available for trade.
What league?
I don't think I own him. I don't own him in any leagues with you
forget it.
because you already own him in the leagues that you and I are in together.
Forget it.
All right. Let's move on and talk about London this week as we get our first London game of the year here, Jeff. Between
are we having a game that starts at like 8:30?
No, it starts at noon.
Oh, those idiots! The only reason I care. Sorry, I'm going to be yelling.
You know what?
The only reason I care about those stupid London games is for the early start.
All right. I'm gonna share this real quick story.
Anyway,
this is gonna make me look bad, but I feel like everybody will enjoy this. When the games start at 9 a.m. Central Time for London. Okay.
Those are the best.
I purposely I have to go to church on those days because my kids are in Sunday school. My wife is in charge of the whole Sunday school program.
Well, and God's watching, and you might go to hell otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I purposely seek out a corner of the church where I can either have the game cast on my phone. Or sometimes if it's Yahoo, I can actually watch the game on my phone.
It's always like the Jaguars against another.
I know it's usually the Jaguars and somebody, but still it's football, and it's like, what am I doing? I'm in church right now. So I'm listening to the sermon and the message and everything, but I'm watching the game on my phone, and I've done that for years, and I feel terrible about it. But that's the way I roll. Now here's the thing: I can't do it this week because it starts at noon. Dave, you know where I'm going to be at noon on this Sunday?
Baby shower.
Yes, a baby shower in De Pere, Wisconsin, which is literally right next to Lambeau Field, for 3 hours, and then I got to get home so I can watch the Packers and Cowboys.
Hey Jeff, let me ask you a question. You know what's worse than a baby shower?
No, help enlighten me.
A gender reveal party.
It's not. Have you been to one of those? A gender reveal party?
No, but it's got to be like the worst.
I can't imagine.
Hey, cut the cake. Is it pink or is it blue?
Oh, and then they're doing the whole thing like, hitting a golf ball off a tee or a baseball or
Kirk Cousins throws it at a target and almost misses.
Right, yeah, that was funny. Skeet shooting. I've seen skeet shooting where you reveal it. It's insane. All right, so getting back to London. It's the Bears, it's the Raiders, and it's live. I don't know if it's at Wembley Stadium. I know it's in London this week.
I hope it's at like an offshoot, crappy 25,000 person stadium.
It entirely could be. I don't know.
It's at the
they're going to kick
the length of St. Andrews.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right outside the 17th green is where they're going to have the game. Chase Daniel is going to be starting for the Bears as opposed to Mitchell Trubisky. When you look at the Bears you have on your teams this year, Jeff, are you doing anything different with them now that you know Daniel is starting over Trubisky, or is it business as usual?
Yeah, I will tell you, one of the things I'm looking forward to this game is watching that Bears defense, and especially Khalil Mack. I don't care if John Gruden schemes for him or not. He's a man-child, that guy, and you can chip him. You can chip him with a back. You can double team him. He's going to be coming after. He's going to be coming after those Raiders pretty good, I think, this week. So I'm looking forward to that. But in terms of Chase Daniel and Trubisky, I think Chase Daniel's a very competent backup. I mean, he's been in the league a long time. Hasn't gotten a lot of starts, but when he's had to come in, he's been adequate. So let's face it. I mean, the Bears' offense wasn't a high-flying unit with Trubisky the first few games this year, anyway. I don't really see any damage to the Bears receivers. In fact, I think you could actually potentially see an upgrade to like Tariq Cohen potentially, or if Burton ever gets healthy at tight end, you could see him get some more throws. I don't think they're going to be throwing downfield a lot, but you could see a lot more of those shorter intermediate throws with Daniel. So I don't see him doing a whole lot of damage to where the offense was before. But I don't own a lot of the Bears offense because quite honestly, I had a lot of reservations about Trubisky as a quarterback going into this year. I know he made a lot of strides from year 1 to 2, but I just didn't know how that was going to play out this year, especially with the running back situation kind of muddied. And so anyway, I stayed away from a lot of the Bears offensive players. But if I owned any, I wouldn't see anything. I wouldn't be doing anything different.
Yeah, I would look at Allen Robinson probably, but hey, Bulky, I got to ask you. So,
well, hold on. What do you mean you look at him?
I would start Allen Robinson.
I for sure am. No question. Yes.
So you know what? If I was Chase Daniel's agent, you know what I would be doing right now? I would tell him he needs to grow a mustache and get some jorts and a bandana.
Yep. Yeah. And say how he tried to break his hand to try to get a medical red shirt back in college.
Yeah, Jeff, you got to build that persona, right?
I'll tell you what, it's everything. They're selling T-shirts and every other thing of paraphernalia down there in Jaguars land right now, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's so
no,
great.
they really are. There is, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of stuff this week. There's a lot of fantasy analysts and some like non-fantasy analysts that have said that Chase Daniel might even be an upgrade over Mitchell Trubisky for the Bears offense.
Yeah, I mean,
like for everybody involved. And Jeff, I got to tell you, I love that Tariq Cohen call. This could be the week that Cohen gets, let's say 5 carries for maybe 25 yards, but that dude could catch 9 balls for like 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. I could totally see that happening this week.
Could happen. You know what I wouldn't see happen though is the Bengals. The Bengals didn't look very good on Monday night.
No, they look terrible. Really, really bad. Really awful.
Man, there's all this Mixon hype. But I mean, the offensive line is there's been all these injuries and so on. You still got Tyler Boyd though. I mean, Boyd gets a lot of looks. What do you think? Would you be willing to start anybody with like Tyler Eifert in a desperation tight end play, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think Eifert's a definite play this week. I mean, let's face it, who have the Cardinals stopped at tight end so far this year? Nobody. So, keep running it till it works, right? That's the old adage in football. Keep doing it until somebody stops it. So I can't see why they wouldn't target Eifert, especially with AJ Green still not back, and now Ross is on the IR for the rest of the year. He's gone. So another interesting play could be, is it Auden Tate? I think that's how you pronounce his first name, but he hasn't looked too bad, and he's going to obviously get his increase of targets. I mean, we'll have to see how things play out over the rest of the year. I don't know that those are every week starters, those guys, but certainly against the Cardinals unit this week, I mean, fire them up. That's what I say.
This is why fantasy football is so good for the NFL, because I have so much to say about the Arizona Cardinals and Cincinnati Bengals game this week. Number one, Auden Tate from my beloved Florida State Seminoles. So and this is a guy that at Two-Packer, the mascot of the show, he and I were both surprised that Tate did not go drafted. He was an undrafted guy, and now he's getting the opportunity in the Cincinnati offense. And if you watch that game on Monday night, he got a couple of end zone looks from Andy Dalton too. So I think that is something to bear in mind. Now, I did not put a lot of bids in on him this week because I looked at it from the standpoint of this is the number 2 option in a horrible offense. When am I ever going to start him? And most of my teams are strong in receiver, so I didn't really see that happening. I didn't get him anywhere, which is fine. But this week, you mentioned it, Jeff, the Arizona Cardinals have allowed either the number 1 or number 2 tight end scoring, number 1 or number 2 scoring tight end every single week this season.
Wow.
So in other words, Tyler Eifert is going to be the top scoring tight end this week, or he's going to be the number 2 tight end scoring tight end this week.
Or the trend will change.
Or the trend will change. Hopefully not. I picked him up in a couple of leagues, Dave, like pretty aggressively because I feel like Eifert's getting in the end zone this week. And if you look at that Pittsburgh game, I think he dropped 2 touchdowns this past. I mean, they're right off his fingertips.
And this week he'll catch them.
He should. That total, this is really surprising to me. It's at Cincinnati, and obviously it's Arizona. They run 100 bajillion plays a game. Total in that is 47.5 between the Cardinals and the Bengals. And I've seen it all too often in the NFL that when 2 bad teams get together, they usually put up a lot of points rather than getting into a –
fire it up.
Right. And the last point I'll make about this game, Tyler Boyd, the Zach Taylor, the coach for the Bengals, has announced that 3 wide receiver sets will feature Tyler Boyd, Auden Tate, and actually
other guy.
University of Wisconsin Badgers, former UW Badger,
he sucks.
Alex Erickson.
Yeah,
he's gonna be on the outside along with Tate. Boyd will kick into
Alex Erickson sounds like a white guy.
It is a white guy.
Oh my God, they're starting a white guy?
Yes, they are. Boyd will kick into the slot, which means he's probably going to avoid the number 1 corner on all these teams going forward, which is great news if you own Tyler Boyd. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Erickson's not getting any targets.
He's not getting any. Yeah, don't pick him up. Absolutely. We're talking with the 2019 Football Guys Players Championship leader, Jeff Volpe, tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Let's talk about Wayne Gallman. How do you view him, Jeff? Is he for real, or did we see his best game of the season this past week?
Well, if you believe the reports, we may have seen his only game this year. if believe the hype about Saquon, right? I mean, I could believe that video when I watched it. Have you guys seen that video of him out there running and cutting and stuff? I mean, just incredible.
For a guy who,
I was watching the Eat the Babies videos on
well,
Twitter
we don't
today,
need to get into that.
Sorry, Jeff.
Now, he's already been ruled. Yes, All right. Thank you, Dave. So he's already officially been ruled up for Week 5, but Week 6 is certainly a possibility for a guy who had a high ankle sprain with a 4 to 8 week timetable. Jeff, I think we're in the Adrian Peterson cyborg territory if Barkley comes back from this in Week 6, which, by the way, after seeing that video, entirely possible.
That's how I'm seeing it. I didn't think he was. I didn't think they'd fire him up this week. You don't want to re-aggravate a high ankle sprain. But and while there's differences in severity, based on what I saw, I don't see there's any way that he doesn't come back in Week 6. So Gallman, is he real or not? Good question. But is it really going to matter? Because he may only get 2 opportunities to show his stuff. The one thing about Gallman is people forget that he has some pedigree coming from Clemson. He was a 4th round pick by them, so he's not garbage. I will say this: he's quicker this year than what I remember watching. Now, he didn't get a lot of opportunity last year with Saquon coming in, but from the year before when he was out on the field quite a bit, especially as a 3rd down back late in the season, he's a lot quicker than I remember. So. It'll be interesting to see, over as the rest of the season plays out, if they mix him in a little bit, if he has another great game, why not spell, Barkley, every 3rd or 4th series, but, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think there's going to be enough of an opportunity there. I mean, I saw him in one of my leagues I was in. He went for like $650 on the Fab Wire.
Ooh.
I mean, that was way too rich of a price for me to pay for him. So, but that's just me,
I was telling Dave this last week when we were talking about Gallman bids, and I said I was just going to do a bunch of keep it honest bids, and if I get him, I get him, but I certainly wasn't targeting him. I got him in 3 leagues. I started him in all 3 last week, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I was talking to actually another one of my co-hosts on a different radio show. I said, if that's all I get from Gallman this season, totally well worth it. I'm fine with that 1 week where he crushed it for 30-plus points or whatever, and we'll see what happens. But the thing of it is now, Jeff, is this is a guy who has shown that he can do it at least against a quasi-NFL team. And so now I'm going to keep him on my roster because I know if Barkley goes down in the right matchup, I can plug Gallman in as a flex, and I'm probably going to do all right.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it depends on how much you had to pay to get him. And then it also depends on what Barkley's timetable is to return. But he certainly, I think, exceeded everybody's expectations last week. And like I said, he just looked a lot quicker than what I remember. So, he looked like he could play the part. But just opportunity isn't always equal. So with Barkley coming back at some point, it's just how much is he going to get?
So Jeff, I'm going to play. Bulky, you have all these games. So this is like supposed to be a carnival after you leave here, Jeff. But
carnival.
I'm going to play a game myself. Actually, I have no idea who's on your team at all, but I'm going to try and guess a couple players if that's all right. So you have. Go ahead. I know you have Mahomes.
I know I have Mahomes. Yes.
And you have McCaffrey. You've mentioned him.
Yep.
You have Godwin.
Say that again. Who else?
You have Chris Godwin.
I do not have Chris Godwin. Nope.
No Godwin. Okay. Jeez. Oh man.
You weren't listening. I actually gave you both my starting receivers.
Well, I'm stupid. I'm busted.
Yeah, busted. Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, so I swear to God, the defense has to be correct. You have the Patriots defense.
Nope, I got the Bears.
Bears.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right, forget it. Well, can you just tell us who your starters are, since I'm terrible at this?
And Jeff, who you have as a starter in for Week 5 this week?
Yeah, for Week 5. So Mahomes is my quarterback. I've got McCaffrey and Eckler. I will be continuing to play Eckler. I think he's still going to be a low-end number 1, even with Gordon coming back this week. I think they're going to ease him back into things. If anything, he takes away some of the goal line touches, but I think Eckler's still going to get a good chunk of the passing game. So those are my running backs. I've got Fitzgerald and Evans in at my receivers right now. T.Y. Hilton was one of my high draft picks. We'll have to see. He's had, limited practices the last 2 days, so it looks like he'll be a game time. I think he's going to do everything he can to get out there. I know they have that bye week, but this is a big game versus Kansas City. So I think if there's any way he can go, he will. And against that Kansas City defensive backfield, I'm going to be firing him up if he's active. So I've got him in one of my flexes. I've got LaShawn McCoy in one of my flexes. And then, as you mentioned earlier, I lost Hunter Henry earlier to injury, so I've been playing Delaney Walker in at tight end. I also have Jason Witten, who's been a surprising nice, high-end floor tight end also as well. So, and then I've got Harrison Buckner as my kicker for Kansas City. So pretty solid lineup. That's generally who I've been rolling with this year. Demarcus Robinson's got a game or two, I believe, as a start. And then Hunter Henry, I started him game one. But that's, for the most part, that's been my lineup.
Jeff, let me ask you this, because we know that Damian Williams is going to be playing for the Chiefs this week on Sunday night. Knowing that, are you still flexing up McCoy? I mean, are you betting that the Chiefs ease Williams in and McCoy is still going to do enough to be flex-worthy? Or is it just the fact, like, look, there's going to be a zillion points scored in that game. McCoy's going to get something.
Yeah, I think what does Vegas have it as the second highest scoring game this week, or third highest? I mean, it's right up there again. So I think that there's plenty of opportunity for both of them. I don't think they're going to throw Williams in at the same workload as when he went out. And so I think McCoy's going to get plenty of touches. He's been a full participant in practice. I was a little worried with that ankle because it certainly looked like that maybe he, did something in the last game. Because he wasn't very active in the second half. Darrell Williams took over, and he was the guy that they were giving the ball to there in that second half. But he's been a full participant in practice. So, and unless I see something different, I want every share I can get of that Kansas City offense. And it's really come down. For me, it's between him and Demarcus Robinson. But I like McCoy better than Robinson in that flex spot for me right now. If Hilton can't go, then I'm looking at either throwing in Robinson or Deontay Johnson for Pittsburgh, who we talked about a little bit earlier.
So let's talk about the Packers receivers a little bit. Since we're so close, we get a little bit jaded here. We can't
right. We can't honestly answer that.
Yeah. Devontae Adams, he's going to miss this week. You looking at? Do you think Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Geronimo Allison are going to find either of their ways into your lineups this week against the Dallas secondary?
Yeah. Well, I think this is the week for Packers fans to find out, if Rodgers really is back. He had a great week last week, but, I mean, the Eagles secondary, I mean, did they have any starters that played? I mean, it was ridiculous. So,
no,
while
they
he
did
lift
not.
them up, yeah, it's, so I think that's a little deceiving in terms of how well he did, and he's going to get a lot more tested by the Cowboys, who are pretty tough against the pass. But, Adams looks like he's probably going to be out. Or if he does play, he'll definitely have reduced snaps, it looks like, because I don't think he's been a full participant at all in practice this week. So I would tend to go with MVS in this matchup. I wouldn't say I love either of them, but I think if you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think you could put him in as a flex this week, and especially if Adams isn't playing at all, he would be my favorite of the two, since. The Cowboys are tough against the pass, especially against the slot. And I think Geronimo Allison's been getting, you guys would know a little bit better than me, but I think that's where most of his targets have come from, the slot. So I think that may even be a tougher matchup.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on MVS. I think he's the guy to play. Although I would honestly, I guess my hot take is don't play either one, because I'm unconvinced that either. I think the guy that could be really, really interesting this week is Jimmy Graham. Coming alive against Philly, and the fact that you have a lot of unproven guys out there at receiver for the Packers. I think Jimmy Graham could have another big week this week. We'll see what happens. Let's get to a couple emails here for you, Jeff. First one's from Nate in Irving, Texas. He writes, "What do you think ultimately happens to Stephon Diggs in Minnesota?" Great work in Football Guys. That is Nate in Irving, Texas. Thank you so much for the email, Nate. You look at Diggs. Number one, I guess, Jeff, the question is, does he play this week? And number two, what happens the rest of the season? I mean, is he a top 20 receiver? How do you see this thing going down?
Well, I think the only thing that we can say is guaranteed is Kirk Cousins is getting his money, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got that right.
It's man, what a mess. I guess the first thing I would say is, Diggs probably could have handled this a little bit better. But quite frankly, I can't be upset at him or Thielen because, Thielen came out and pretty much, he didn't say it, but he called out Cousins as well in the press conference right after the game. And so I would be upset if I was both those guys as well. I mean, here's a guy, those guys are as talented of a duo as in the entire NFL, in my opinion. Great route runner in Thielen. Diggs is just, he can take the top off the defense, great talent, and they're just not getting those guys targets. I don't know why. I mean, you can throw 50-50 balls up to those guys. I mean, look at the New Orleans, the Miracle in Minneapolis, right, with Diggs. I mean, that was a 50-50 ball. The guy just went up and got it, took it away. So they got to start. I think you're going to see them this week against the Jets come out with a concerted effort to get those guys the ball. The reports are up here that they do not want to trade Diggs, and my gut tells me that they won't trade him unless they just get some ridiculous offer for him, like maybe 2 number ones and something else. And I don't think somebody's going to be willing to throw that out right now. I think that's how much the Vikings value him. But a lot of it has to do with the play calling, right? And a lot of it's been this intentional shift to the running game. And Dalvin Cook's great. But you can't do everything based on the running game play action. You've got to be able to throw downfield. Adam Thielen said it best. So I think he's going to stay with the Vikings, and I think you're going to see them try to get both those guys the ball a little bit more this week against the Jets.
Okay, all right. So you do believe that Diggs plays this Sunday?
I do. I think that's what the reports are saying so far. So we'll see. I mean, proof's always in the pudding, but I think that with Diggs, the best thing you could do for him to make him happy. Look, he's a wide receiver, right? What great wide receiver isn't a diva, right? They're all divas. Antonio Brown. Yeah. You go out throughout history. So the best way to get those guys to be quiet and be happy is get them the ball.
No question. I totally agree with there. Jason in Dunwoody, Georgia writes, I'm 0-4 and already looking to next year. How high do you think Cooper Kupp goes in FFPC drafts in 2020 if he keeps this up? Jason, thank you for the email. Cooper Kupp, for anybody who missed it last night, 9 catches. I think it was like 117 yards, got in the end zone. He's been absolutely flat out crushing it this year, coming off the ACL injury. How high does he go in drafts next year if he does keep this up? Second-round pick? I mean, could he be a late first-round pick? How do you see him next year in drafts, Jeff, as we look at Kupp in this Rams offense?
Yeah, I think, the only reason he got, a little depressed this year is coming off of that injury, right? And just not knowing how he'd fit back in with the other guys that got a chance to step up last year. But I think he could easily be, a second round, third round probably pick the latest. I think in most of my drafts this year he was going 4th or 5th round. So I think he'll definitely move up if things continue. There's obviously chemistry there with him and Goff, right? Just more so than any of the other receivers. And so I think that says a lot. That he seems to be the guy that Goff is looking towards. When he needs to play. So. I could easily see him going in second round, mid-second round, third round at the latest next year.
Dave, we've been extremely fortunate to get the Football Guys Players Championship leader, Jeff Volpe, on the show tonight. And he's been very generous at this time. Before we let him go, we do have one last question for him.
All right, here we go. This is it. Not that anyone's going to hang up after this or not listen anymore after this question.
You got your big game show coming up.
Yeah. Can you give us an early round pick that you would consider benching in Week 5, as well as a sleeper that we should really be starting and taking a look at?
Yeah, and we touched on the sleeper a little bit earlier. I didn't know that this was going to come up, but I think Tyler Eifert, I would imagine most people haven't been starting him at tight end. In fact, I would imagine that prior to this past week, a lot of people didn't even have him on the rosters. So I think that he's definitely somebody against that defense that you got to light up and run with this week. So he'd be my sleeper for sure. I don't know if that qualifies as a sleeper, but there you go.
Sure.
And I'm going to go with maybe something unpopular to say, but Le'Veon Bell has not impressed me this year. We know Sam Darnold isn't going to play again this week, and that Eagles defense, man, against the run, That's what they're built to stop. And so I'm not a fan of Le'Veon Bell. And so I'd say if you've got any better choices, he might be somebody, believe it or not, even though you may have taken him in the first round or second round, that you may want to sit this week. Not a favorable matchup for sure, because, they're already going to be limited in what they can do in the pass game, and the Eagles' defense is already good against the run. So they're going to come in and game plan to take him away. So I just don't see him doing a whole lot this week. So that would be my sit for the week.
Jeff, that is a great call on Le'Veon Bell. If you look at what the Eagles' rush defense has done against opposing running backs this year, I don't know if they've allowed 40-plus yards. It's been insane how good that rush defense has been. And you look at this game that is going off. Philadelphia is hosting Luke Falk, by the way, and the Jets.
He's good.
It is a total of 43.5, and the Eagles, I'm not kidding you, are 14-point favorites.
Holy crap, really?
Yeah, that bodes very, very well for the Eagles and not good for the Jets.
They may even score 14.
It'd be incredibly ballsy to sit Bell, but I think you're right. I think that you need to look at your third running back to see if actually he might have a better matchup than Le'Veon Bell that week. We'll have to see what happens there, but I'm with you 100% on that. And I'm also with you 100% on rooting for you the rest of the way.
Jeff, Eric wants you to win the whole thing.
I want you
more
to win
than any of the other guests we've had.
Anybody ever in the history of the show. No question. You've had a lot of good teams over the years. This is probably, as you said earlier, this is probably your best year so far. Back-to-back leader in the Football Guys Players Championship. We'll see if you can hold that lead going into Week 6, and more importantly, going into Week 16 as we look forward to awarding that $250,000 grand prize at the end of the year. Thank you so much for joining the show tonight. Good luck in that league and in all your leagues this year. This was a real treat for us, and we'll talk to you again real soon, dude.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for having me on, and best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Jeff Volpe, the 2019 Football Guys Players Championship leader in the clubhouse for the $250,000 grand prize, as we are 10 weeks away from awarding that. 10 weeks away, and the season's over. That's insane to me.
What a wonderful guest. And we only have 4 minutes left in the show. I guess we got to skip all your games.
We can't skip the games. We're going to fly through it right now. Now we're going to fly through it. Rob, don't play it. All right, so we're going to lead things off. This is the first ever high-stakes fantasy football hour game night. Dave is going to do his best to answer all of these questions. Certain questions, I will give him a finite number of guesses. Other questions, I will not, okay? The first one, this is a who am I, okay? We're going to lead things off with a who am I. You only get one guess on this one, all right? This is a little bit of warm-up, okay? Who am I? Currently, I have 264 snaps on the season. Snaps. My backup has 4. And no one else at my running back position on my team has any.
McCaffrey.
Who am I? That is correct. Christian McCaffrey on the season, 264 snaps. Reggie Bonifon, who is his backup, and I've only seen David Hubbard draft him this year. I did not see one other person.
Hubbard is smart, and he's like, oh my goodness, he's not even still seeing them.
Right, and Bonifon has 4 snaps on the team. That's been the only other Panthers running back snaps this year.
No coach could be that stupid.
You look at Ron Rivera and talking about decreasing the McCaffrey workload, Dave. I think going forward, as we draft McCaffrey in future years, we have to keep this in mind that even if they say, oh, we're going to lower his workload, they're not, and this guy should be the 101 for years to come.
From a dynasty perspective, it's a little bit it's very concerning. It really is. It bothers me.
So would you be looking to move him right now?
No, because he's too good. You just can't sell him.
Not that concerning.
Yeah, what can you sell him for? Like, Dalvin Cook and Juju or what? You know what I mean?
All right, let me think about this for a second.
Well, I made a trade. I'll tell you, I made a trade with Meyer
way
before.
Yeah,
Ron Meyer, 2-packer. He offered me, probably in some drunken stupor like usual.
Right.
He offered me McCaffrey for Elliott and Keenan Allen. I mean, he's like, Gerzak will never take that. And I took it. And I get this.
So you get Elliott and Allen.
No, I get McCaffrey.
You got McCaffrey.
He offered me his McCaffrey for my Elliott and
you
Allen.
gave up Elliott and Allen.
This is before the season. This is like 6 months ago.
Okay.
And Allen's killing it. Elliott's doing fine. McCaffrey's doing great.
Right.
And I'm still okay with the trade because Elliott has like so many more career touches.
He does.
And Allen, he's had some injury histories and so on. He's been killing it so far this year. That's fine. And I get it. I totally get the other side. But I'm just saying, man. I mean, like McCaffrey is so almost untradeable. It's tough.
So if 2-packer, well, let's not say 2-packer. Let's say a different league. You own McCaffrey, and somebody offered you Ezekiel Elliott and Keenan Allen for him, you would turn that down?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Which in Dynasty I would. Yeah.
I would not.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. And I know the trade calculators. I mean, people would protest trades like that. But I mean, when you're talking about
that's silly.
the super elite guy who set the running back receptions record of all time last year as a second year player or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
So, and he's in his team's 190% of his team's offensive snaps. It seems like.
I mean, it's nuts. But I mean, it's really, in my opinion, it's very dumb to put him in that many snaps. I mean, get him out of there. I mean, why does he have to have that many touches?
Right.
I don't get. I truly don't understand that, and it does bother me as a dynasty owner. But from redraft, who cares?
Right.
Draft him until the wheels fall off.
I'm going to give you 3 guesses on this next one, okay? Because this is a little bit more tricky. While I was battling a pretty nasty health issue the first 2 weeks of the season, I have at least 89 more air yards than any other NFL player over the last 2 weeks.
Air yards. So that means he's a receiver, probably.
He is a receiver. I'll tell you that. Over the course of the first
2 weeks, he had a health issue?
First 2 weeks, he had a nasty health issue. Over the course of the first 4 weeks of the season, which is the entire season so far, I am on pace for 140 targets, which would be my most since 2016. Who am I?
What was the second thing after the health issue? How many more air yards?
He's got 89 more yards
air
yards than anybody else over the last 2 weeks. Okay? He is a receiver, and he's on pace for 140 targets, which would be his most since 2016. You get 3 guesses on this.
Alshon Jeffrey.
It is not Alshon Jeffrey.
However, I'm trying to think of someone with a health issue.
He plays in the same conference as Alshon Jeffrey, so you know it's not an AFC guy. All right.
You're very nice, Paul.
Now I'm trying to give you hints. It's good radio if you actually get it right. So
yeah, I know. I'm not feeling too good about it.
He's not in the same division as Jeffrey, if that helps, which it may not. So you know it's not Amari Cooper or anybody like that.
All right. So, your health issue. I don't know who this is.
I'll tell you, the health issue was a stomach illness, and maybe that gives it away. It was not an injury; it was a stomach illness. He was not very good the first 2 weeks. He's crushed it the last 2.
I'm gonna make a guess. It's probably wrong, but I'm just trying to buy time.
Okay. All right. So this is guess number 2.
Amari Cooper?
No, I said it's not Amari Cooper. I'm not going to count that as official guess.
Sorry,
I already told you it's not Cooper. He's not in the same division as Cooper. He's in a different division in the NFC.
I wasn't listening to that.
Yeah, that's fine. So he's either in the NFC North, the NFC West, or the NFC South.
This isn't really – this is bad radio. I don't know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. I'll give you another hint. This might give it away. This is a guy that he has a teammate that's doing very well this season, and we actually poo-pooed this guy in favor of his teammate.
Mike Evans?
It is Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, 140 targets he's on pace for this season. Had that really nasty stomach illness the first 2 weeks, Dave, but now he's crushing it. And I don't want to throw Godwin under the bus, but I think Evans is back to what we thought he was going to be, and he's about to go on another big run here.
Yeah, he's doing great, and I actually give a lot of credit to Seamus, who I've said some negative things. I've said a few.
You're still calling him Seamus, so it is what it is on that.
Excuses Uber conduct. But and the coaching staff. I mean, they've done a fine job getting him together. So he's doing well. He's running that offense well, and there's room for improvement even. So that's great.
My Scott Fishbowl, I'll brag about this because I haven't bragged about it all season. I think there's like 800-some teams. I'm 27th, Dave, in the whole thing right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I have Evans and Godwin as my number 2 and 3
good for you.
receivers.
That's really fantastic.
And I lost Barkley, by the way, in that
There's
league.
like 1,200 in that?
No, it's like 800, I think.
Still, that's a lot. That's awesome.
So I'm doing very well, and those Buccaneers receivers. I actually looked.
I'm barely paying attention.
You're not that low. You're not that low.
I stopped doing waivers after. I have to. I'm going to tell Scott to uninvite me. I don't pay attention.
All right. Well, that's fair.
There's no money involved. I can't do it. Alex, I don't care enough about the brand for you for that. Sorry.
Well, Dave, I'm not going to get it.
It says FFPC, not at the 750. It's not so good.
Who am I? Part 3. This is going to be a fun one right here. I'm going to give you 3 guesses on this one. All right.
I'm going to do better this time.
Now it's tricky, but this is probably going to help the listeners most. All right. Through 4 weeks, the entire season, I am on pace for 128 targets, 88 catches, 1,236 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns.
1,200 how many? 36?
Yes. I have never gotten fewer than 7 targets in any game. I have a 21% target share and am 13th in the NFL in air yards. Yet, FFPC drafters selected me on average.
Oh, here we go. This will be good.
At the end of the 9th round.
All right, end of the 9th.
Who am I? On pace for an 88-12.
Fitz.
It is not Fitz. I'm pretty sure this guy was drafted after Fitz, and he does not play in the same conference as Fitz.
What conference?
So he,
NFC, right?
Yeah. So the answer to this question
Emmanuel
is
Sanders.
It is not Emmanuel Sanders. However, Dave, you only have one guess, so I'm going to give it away here. He is a real-life teammate of Emmanuel Sanders.
It's Cortland Sutton?
Cortland Sutton.
You could have given me 20 guesses. I would have gotten
And you wouldn't have gotten Sutton, really?
Well, if you said AFC, I would have gotten it eventually. But
88 for 1236 and 8 touchdowns. Now, granted, a lot of that has been in garbage time when the Broncos are trying to come back, but this is insane. I mean, he is on pace for a great season, and I think the real crying shame about this is anybody who's had Cortland Sutton, myself included, has probably not played him in all 4 games this season, where he's been accruing all this.
Right.
Do you own Cortland Sutton in any leagues this year? Probably not, huh?
Not a one.
Yeah, I own him in 3 leagues, and I feel all right about him, but the fact of the matter is I really wish I wouldn't playing him every single week, and I haven't been. And the other thing, too, is to keep in mind that the Denver media, hashtag Cecil Lammy and others, they're singing his praises. They are all about Sutton and saying it's going to get better for him going forward.
Good for him.
All right, let's get into the next one. Now, I'm going to give you – this is a list of 10 players. You have to name 5 of the players on this list, okay? It's going to be receiver-heavy the rest of the show. Wide receivers with most yards after contact, Dave. In the NFL so far this season,
what am I trying to guess here?
You're trying to guess 5 of the 10 receivers with the most yards after contact, okay?
How the hell would I know all this?
Well, I'm not saying you know it. I'm saying you got to guess it, all right? And this is crucial for fantasy players because I think the impetus is to start these high-ceiling guys that have a lot of the air yards, but yards after contact is pretty important too. So, I don't want to say that these are all guys running short routes because they're not, but some of them are. So if you can name
just in general.
Yes, you get as soon as you name 5, the game is over.
Okay, so I'm going to scores and odds a little bit.
Listen, I'm not going to judge
looking at player names or anything.
I'm not going to judge your process. You guess whoever you want to guess. This is most yards after contact for receivers so far this season.
All right.
And the list is 10. They range anywhere from 57 to 109 yards after contact.
Okay. Jeez.
Some of these names are obvious. Some of them are not so much, and that's how it helps the listeners.
Demarcus Robinson.
He is not on this list.
Shoot, that was one of my sleepers that was going to be on the list.
So you get 5 strikes. I'm going to install this. 5 strikes. So that's strike 1.
All right. Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams not on there either. Strike 2. He's not on there. I know. That's frustrating.
Bulky, this game sucks.
It's fun. It's fun for me because I got the list in front of me so I can see who's on here.
And then this page keeps refreshing on me.
Well, turn off the auto refresh, man.
I don't know how to do it. Keenan Allen?
Keenan Allen is number 6
God.
on this list with 81 receiving yards after contact.
All right, hang on.
So congratulations, you got him.
Whew, all right, I'm on the board, right?
Right, you're on the board.
All right, so that's good.
Yep.
Julio?
Julio is not on this list. That's
oh my God!
3. Yeah.
Screw you, Julio.
Right. Well, you got to remember, like a lot of his passes are downfield, and he's an older guy, so he tends to go down after contact to save himself.
All right, Chris Godwin?
Chris Godwin is number 2 on this list with 102 yards after contact.
All right, Mike Evans, I'll say, with the same team.
Mike Evans is strike 4. He is not on this list.
Screw him. This isn't even going to be close, is it?
You have one more.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas is number 9. You barely made it. Number 9 with 60 receiving yards after contact this season. He is number 9. You need 2 more.
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Okay, all right. So pressure's on, baby.
Oh, man.
And I got to tell you.
I'm looking at the Jaguars-Carolina game right now.
I got to tell you, I think there's 2.
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin is number 4 on this list, Dave, with 95 yards after contact. You need 1 more, and you only have 1 strike. So this is literally do or die right now. And I got to tell you, I don't want to say 2 of the names are obvious on this list, but they were drafted fairly high. One for sure was drafted super high.
All right.
And the rest are kind of unknowns.
I'm thinking of a. So who did I just say?
You have Godwin, McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Michael Thomas all correct.
So it's yards after catch.
No, yards after contact.
After contact.
After contact, yeah.
All right, this is important, so I have to pay attention.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to help you here, but two of the names on this list are rookies.
Yeah, I was DJ Chark.
That is incorrect. So strike five on that. Yeah. No, that was close. You put up a good fight. This is a tough category.
Chark was the guy I was thinking of.
So I'm going to roll this through. Number 10 on the list, A.J. Brown, 57 yards.
That was a very tough one.
You got Michael Thomas at 9. John Ross, 65 at 8. He's actually tied with the number 7 player on this list, the other rookie, Marquise Brown from Baltimore, which surprises me because that guy, I can't imagine if he ever gets contact, I would think he'd just go down. Number 6 you got was Keenan Allen. Number 5, Jarvis Landry from Cleveland with 91.
That was a good one.
You got number 4, Terry McLaurin with 95, who is tied with number 3 on this list, Juju Smith-Schuster with 95 yards.
The recency bias with Juju having a bad game led me.
I get that. Number 2 you got Chris Godwin with 102 yards. And then number 1 on the list, the guy you failed to mention, a guy we talked about earlier on the show, Mr. All-World and one of your favorites with 109 yards after contact this season, not including last night, Cooper Kupp, number 1 on the list.
That's terrible.
It's tough, man. Now,
no, it's not. It's terrible.
Now, I'm going to soften it up for you right now, okay? The last category we're going to do tonight, this is like your bonus round, all right? The top scoring receivers in FFPC scoring average per week. I want to make this clear. This is not total points. This is average per week on the season. I have 10 in front of me. You have to name 5. You get 5 strikes. Okay?
Average points per week?
Average points per week for receivers.
So far this year.
All
right, Kupp.
Kupp is number 2. Congratulations on that. Godwin is number 3. Congratulations on that. You might steamroll this category.
Evans.
Here. Mike Evans is number 6. Congratulations on that.
All right, this really shouldn't be very hard.
You have 2, 3, and 6 so far. That's good.
I'm going to go back to some of these rookies. I'm
going to stop you right there, Dave. There's no rookies on this list. Oh, there's one rookie. Excuse me. There's one rookie on this list.
Maybe I shouldn't then. So.
No, there's one rookie if you get the right rookie.
Yeah, there's actually some options there.
There are some options.
Okay, so Kupp, Godwin, Evans.
And a lot of the, besides this rookie, I think the other names are, I don't want to say fairly obvious, but they're well-established players.
Yeah.
You have 5 strikes left, too. You're already.
I'm aware of it.
You only need two more.
But yeah, I'd like to actually
sweep it.
Get more of a get a little bit better here.
Right. Yeah. You have Cooper Kupp.
I'm going to say, okay, he hasn't had a good game since week 1, but I'm going to say Sammy Watt.
Sammy Watt is number 8.
Yeah.
So you are
Sammy Watt.
4 for 4 on this list so far. Just for refresh, Cooper Kupp averaging 22.3 again before last night. 22.15 for Godwin, 19.7 for Evans, and 19.375 for Watkins.
All right, let's throw Amari Cooper on there.
You have won the category, my friend.
All right.
Amari Cooper, number 10, averaging 18.4. You want to press your luck and see if you can get any of the other names?
Julio.
Julio is number 7 on the list at 19.7.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas on the list, number 9 at 19.025. You have just number 1, 4, and 5 to figure out. I can't believe you haven't got number 1. I mean, I guess I can because I was surprised he was number 1, but still.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're 7 for 7. This is insane. If anybody ever questions, do those HSFF guys know their stuff?
Oh,
the answer is a resounding yes.
This is really impressive.
Top scoring wide receivers in FFPC per week, average per week.
I'm just looking through the teams a little bit. I'm hesitant to say Hopkins.
Yeah, don't say Hopkins. You didn't say it. I'll just tell you don't.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is number 1, 24.375. You are missing number 4 and number 5, and they both may have not played last week, which would explain why they're number 4 and number 5 average per week.
Oh, man. 4. I don't know. Edelman.
It is not Edelman. That is strike one.
All right. Let's just release them. And
you want to reveal it?
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
So number 4 on this list, T.Y. Hilton, did not play last week, 21.167. And then number 5, the lone rookie on this board in the top 10, averaging 19.9 points per week, did not play last week. It is F1 himself, Terry McLaurin.
That's
yeah.
right.
Hell of a performance, 8 for 8.
I missed the other one.
Well,
right.
no, it was 8 for 8. That was really impressive. So congratulations, Dave Gerzak, setting a record on High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour game night.
I mean, it's the top 10 receivers. I mean, how hard is that for guys?
But average per game,
but I didn't really get the ones that were averaging. So whatever.
Well, it is what it is, and that is going to do.
What a great feature.
Yeah, that was fun. That's going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Jeff Volpe, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Rice, and, of course, each and every one of you for hanging out with us once again on this Friday night. We will be back next week at 10/9 Central with a brand-new episode for you. Stay tuned for that. Remember, Matt Keifling on the High Stakes Lowdown, rotoviz.com/podcast. Also check it out on Apple Podcasts as well. And actually, next week on the High Stakes Lowdown, at Fantasy Inquirer on Twitter, it is Billy Metcalf. He will be on the show. We will talk to him. It is going to be a lot of fun. Good luck in Week 5. I hope the ball bounces your way. We're almost to the FFPC playoffs. Your weekend starts
This has been
now.
another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the scenic floor, even more so if we on tour. Me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before. Trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in.
What did you think of game night? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Good job prepping or whatever.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. When I was putting this together, I got an update on my phone about that Sutton thing, and it explained. It framed it the same way I framed it to you.
Right.
And I am with you. I would have never guessed Cortland Sutton. I'm like, we got to do something like with this on the show.
It's tough because I don't own him anywhere, so it's tough. I'm not paying enough attention to him.
And I think this is not something we can do every week, and we would not do every week. But I think every maybe 5 or 6 weeks, I think it might be fun to revisit for sure.
True. As we proceed through the season, like halfway point, 3/4, and so forth.
Yeah. Good luck to everybody in Week 5. I hope everything goes your way. And listen, we're in October already. It's getting to be crunch time. Swing your sword, make your moves, get your guys, and we'll talk to you before Week 6.
What the hell?